All right, guys, welcome back. This, of course, is Gwyn. With me is Greetorp, and we are jumping into game number 4 here of aLive versus Seed. There have been some great games so far. Of course, Seed saved himself from elimination last game to bring it 2-1 in aLive's favor. But let's go ahead and jump into this game without further ado. In the purple, we do have aLive as our Terran player in the upper hand position on Cloud Kingdom.
In the bottom left-hand position, we have IMSeed, who, performed really well last game, I think.
Yep.
But again, I have to go back to this, and I think this is a little bit of Jinro's frustration. If you haven't already, check it out on Team Liquid, where Jinro actually talks about his run through MLG. It's a little bit old, maybe a week old, but still. We've seen a lot of, I think Jinro would say, coin flippiness, where the builds work out for a certain race. The first 2 games, it worked out great for aLive. The third game, Seed got a massive advantage just off of that early game stage. So you definitely see how the beginning stages are affecting the players further down the line.
Oh, yeah. Way further down the line.
Yeah, it snowballs the advantage. And this is the kind of stuff where I think it can be frustrating in TVP. And that's why, we really haven't seen the 2 players just settle down, macro up, do whatever they want, because the builds just have a little bit too much of, that coin flippiness.
And jumping into the game, look at this again out of aLive. Last time, of course, he did this. We were like, well, he's actually 2-raxing like he would versus a Zerg, and he decided to bring all the SCVs, and he did a ton of damage, actually ending the game in like a super short game. We'll have to see. I mean, Seed, once again, he's on 1 gas. He actually pulled guys out of gas. He's just gonna have enough gas to get, I believe, a Stalker and Warp Gate started once that core finished. So again, he's skipping that Zealot. I'm a little bit afraid for Seed right now.
Yeah, this will be kind of problematic. The same type of rush. Now, Cloud Kingdom is a pretty big map, but so was Daybreak.
Yeah, I mean,
he's still able to do so much damage. So we'll see if aLive gets anything done this time around, or if Seed can hold on the onslaught that he's going to be bringing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really, I guess, depends on if aLive decides to bring the SCVs or not. We did see him bring them in that game number 2 on Daybreak, and I mean, the result was game-ending. Really, I mean, Seed just lost the game right there, and right now, aLive just needs to win 1 additional game to take the series and, of course, take the tournament. So, I mean, try and get into the head of aLive with me here, Greetorp. I mean, is this one of those situations where he's like, well, it worked last time, I completely fooled him, I'm just going to do it again?
I think, it's tough. aLive obviously not going to do it this time around. He's just rallying Marines. But I think he is not going to actually do that, because there was a difference in Seed's build. He didn't go for the Nexus Curse, obviously, because Seed was blocked. Seed was blocked. Yep. There was that engineering bay. On top of that, we saw a Stalker and Warp Gate made before any of his Nexus was
sure.
So it just gives a little bit faster units, but I like this workaround. He's actually congregating all his Marines in the bottom right-hand position and hoping to catch Seed off guard. Unfortunately, he went the second unit as a Stalker, rather a Sentry.
Yep. And Sentry is that 3rd unit. It's about to come out, and it's actually going to get out in time to block the ramp. That is pretty huge. Yes. And Seed is waiting there at the top. Where's the force field? There it is. And of course, that Nexus can take a little bit of chipping damage. It's not a big deal. And with 2 Stalkers against that contingent of Marines, the Stalkers should be able to hold them off for long enough for reinforcements to arrive.
Yeah, or at least buy time. That's one of the most important things, because you can see Warp Gate is already finished. So he can go and just start massing up in a couple of units over here. And, this continued Marine pressure, you might think that it's good, but it's actually awful. He's going to have a lot of trouble, just like we saw last game. Oh, no, actually, these Stalkers might be...
Wow.
And no.
Wow, trapping those. One of them only has 13 hit points remaining, but at this point, I mean, 4 Stalkers out. Even if he loses that injured one, he should be safe. But go back to what you were saying about the Marine pressure being bad at this stage in the game.
The main reason is because he's actually leaving these Marines in the middle of the field for quite a long time now. I think Seed kind of underperformed here. He should have been able to take out all these Marines, but he didn't. He is giving chase right now, and that's what he needs to do. But losing these Marines are crippling because if you can, as Protoss, if you can keep all your Stalkers, which he's not doing, he lost 2 Stalkers.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you can actually imply a lot of pressure similar to last game and stop your opponent from getting a faster third.
And, I mean, it looks like the natural expansion has finished up for aLive, so we'll have to see how fast he decides to take that third, but I agree with you in that, Greetorp. I mean, you really want to preserve your unit count early in the game, and Stalkers do have one range over Marines, so the Stalker should be able to out-micro the Marine, so Seed, rather, with a little bit of sloppy control, I think, taking more damage than he needed to, and losing 2 of those Stalkers.
Precisely, and here we go again, poking in here. The first Stalker already loses all of his shield, so he's still trying, but if he can't get any Marine kills, it's actually devastating.
Yeah.
You know, aLive does actually take the advantage now that he's been able to go all the way back to his base. Now what aLive should do is just not attack with his weakened ones, or I like how the position of them, but not attack with his weakened ones. Make sure he has the same amount of units, and he can actually take a third before putting down a factory. That would probably be the go-to build, seeing that he's four barracks before any factory's up. I mean, he already has map control.
4 barracks, he's got 2 of them with Tech Labs getting Combat Shield and Stim at the same time. The second 2 barracks are just for Marines. They do have the reactors on them. And, I mean, what is Seed going for? It looks like, actually, this is really good out of Seed. I mean, he's getting a single Immortal out, which is not going to be super good, but he's just about using that Robo in the time to get his Robotics Bay up, to get Colossus, and against a Marine-heavy composition, I can't think of a better unit than the Colossus.
Absolutely. And I think aLive is actually misplaying this at this point. He's actually going for a big aggression. And I think on a map like Cloud Kingdom, yes, you have the potential to, but it's kind of unlikely that you do this heavy gateway pressure and you're able to be super successful. And the main reason for that is there's so many chokes where you can force heal off. It's very easy to just contain the attack and not have it push out to kill your bases. So I think actually stopping a round of units going for the command center would have been the better choice, but he's actually going for a factory and an engineering bay directly after this. I don't like this follow-up. I think Seed is going to be able to defend very efficiently and just counter push for the win.
I mean, IMSeed throwing down 4 additional gateways, so he'll be on 7 gateways. He, of course, does have that Robo finished as well as the Robotics Bay and a Colossus on the way. But, I mean, one of the things that I guess goes a little bit in aLive's favor, of course, once that Colossus is out, the Colossus and the rest of the Protoss army are not super mobile. Yeah. So aLive can abuse a lot of the different paths through here to kind of like sweep in, maybe draw the army one way and poke in somewhere else. And speaking of that, we actually see the army of Seed sweeping down, but at the same time aLive running into the natural with Marine Runner. I'm not sure which fight to watch here, and wow, units of aLive sneaking into the main base even to go after those probes. This is huge damage being done by aLive right now.
Yes, it is. The Colossus was focused down a little bit here, but they're going to disengage. Right now, Seed's units are just all over the place, but it looks like he is defending pretty well, cleaning up here and there. A lot of probes being taken out, but I don't think it's enough. Let's go ahead and check. Looks like a total of 22 workers
23. Wow, 23.
That was a lot.
Yeah,
of damage.
that was huge damage. Terrible damage even. But I mean, Seed, he now has 2 Colossus out, and I mean, this is kind of that point where you get 2 or 3 Colossus and it's time to push, and we do see him moving aggressively out. I mean, at the very least, probably that damage prompted him to say, all right, it's time to go for the big attack. I cannot delay any longer.
Yes. Counter push going into the natural, though. This is what he needs to be careful, but there are a couple of units that are defending back here, so I think he's absolutely fine. You know what? I think Seed, he's going for the base race, but Seed has a better army composition with the better, with the thermal lance, the better upgrade. And
beautiful force fields. Beautiful force fields going down on those bunkers. And, yeah, I mean, this Colossus in the back of Seed just ripping through the gateway composition and all of these SCVs of aLive. He's even building a proxy pylon so he can reinforce. And, I mean, the counterattack in the main has been completely cleaned up by Seed, so he can just go for it at this point.
This is the weakness of aLive's play, you know? Going for that tech, it really doesn't make sense. You want to get your economy up as fast as possible, so you just have a ton of Marines and Marauders. So when, you know, Seed does get put in a position like this where there's only one move, and it is to actually push and go for that base race. GG gets called out.
Yep.
But when you go and try to push for that base race, you're met with a slew of Marines and Marauders that can get great position. You can see aLive was just buying time, trying to buy time to get his tech out, but you know, that timing push comes in a perfect place where there's no way that Terran can actually get enough Vikings to counter that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like what you said, Greetorp. I mean, Seed, he was rushing for that tech, that Colossus tech, when he saw the Marine heavy composition of his opponent. And aLive, you know, he opted to, you know, get that third base. So he basically invested in economy, getting the third up, but also in an army and getting a lot of extra additional barracks and just going for a big push. And because of that, his opponent was doing something else. His opponent was going for army and tech, and he had that as Colossus, and that was the tipping point that pushed over, allowed him to defend cost effectively, and then allowed him to push out and do the damage needed to win the game.
Sure, and let's just think about it really quickly, Gwen, like this. If let's look at investment standpoint. If I'm actually investing all of this money into my starburst, my double starport tech, is it going to come out in time? And the question is no. So basically, or the answer is no. So basically I have all this investment, whether it be the Vikings, the starports, the add-ons, the factory even. That's a good 1,000 minerals that you're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
That's 10 Marauders right there. If I have 10 more Marauders in that situation, am I okay in that position? I would say the answer is yes.
You probably could hold if you had 10 extra Marauders in that position.
So a little bit interesting that happened, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and get on to game number 5 and see the conclusion with this final best of 1.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have tied it up, so please stay tuned. Game 5 coming around.